So last week we talked about some heavy stuff, and this week I said I was going to get even deeper, and I am. So get ready. Just so you know, I have an outline on my computer, so it kind of like makes it so I can stay on task. I don't want you to think that I'm actually just reading word for word in the first few episodes I did, because I was just nervous. I needed to get it out, but now I've got my flow going. And this episode, you can't save your kids, and that's the hardest truth. Yeah. Okay. So this is an extremely hard one. You know, I'm talking to parents, especially moms. You cannot save your children. Say it out loud. You cannot save your children. You cannot fear your kids are going to walk away from God. I'll be honest, like that's that was my greatest fear. My kids would walk away from God. And it happened. And then what does that create? The fear that they're going to die without faith. You think I don't think about that every day? Every day. People don't want to talk about it, but it's real. My own kids are struggling with it. All three. Especially my youngest two. Our oldest one she's a Christian, but the problem is she's not practicing her faith. So, if you're struggling with your kids not having faith, I get it, because I'm struggling too. This is not just an episode of giving you advice on everything that's happened in my life. I want to be very, very open and honest that I deal with this stuff every day. So, my own walk in faith. I touched on it last week, but for those who didn't watch, in my middle school, I started a youth group. They put me in the wrong youth group, so I ended up moving to the high school youth group. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And then they came in and swooped me out and moved me back into the middle school. So it really, really, and just uprooted me. Didn't care that it just totally destroyed me. Totally different vibe. And I was already going through so much. Same time, my mom got a brain tumor. You name it. I was not strong enough to be able to keep my faith. Did we go to church? Absolutely. Went to church. We were Methodist, and there's nothing wrong with Methodist. My grandmother was Methodist. My mom was brought up Methodist. My dad did Methodist and Baptist growing up. That's kind of me. Like, I've done different denominations, but it's a very ritual. Nothing wrong with that. Like, you go in, you know exactly what to expect. You know you're going to say the same thing for your tithing, for your, different certain things are always going to be in the same order. So it was familiar, but I lost that connection, like, completely. And I didn't find it again until after college, because let's be honest, college is a true test of your faith. If you're not strong in your faith and you're not prepared, it's going to kick you on your butt. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. I found God again, Jesus, in my mid-20s through going to church with some people from work, and I've been blessed to have found him and not lost him since. Have I always gone to church? No, but yeah, strong in that now. So that's another story for another day. So here's my thing. Are we asking kids to make the decision to come to Christ too early? Both of my kids, my younger kids, got baptized when they were 7. They're 22 months apart. So literally it was like our son got baptized at 7, and my husband, that's when he accepted Christ. He did it with our son. And then our daughter 2 years later, boom, 7. Well, guess what? No matter what you think and the questions you ask them, I don't feel like they're fully understanding what they're saying yes to. Plain and simple. It's pretty obvious, because now they're struggling. And here's the thing. There is a difference between knowing about Jesus and actually choosing him. Okay. So, all right. So yes, we part of it is our fault. We have been in and out of church over the years because we had trouble finding a church that we felt fully aligned with. My husband doesn't like big churches. I don't mind little churches. The church that we found that we really loved and got married in, it was actually a Methodist church. But it was one of my friends from high school. He married us, and later, here's the problem. The Methodist church moved him into college campuses to help minister to, obviously, college kids. And he was fantastic at it. But the problem is, when he left, there was just no connection. We literally drove out of our way to go there. It was across town from where we live. Not that that's a bad thing. So we drifted. We'd find a church and something would happen. Not going to get into it, but here's my problem. I have trouble aligning with the church. If it's not in the Bible, I don't follow it. So if I go to a church and they come up with all these rules, like, women can't wear dresses, they can't wear makeup, they can't cut their hair, and da. That's not in the Bible. I'm sorry. It's just not. The scriptures actually say men shall dress as men, women shall dress as women. Well, you try and tell me that I can't wear pants. Well, guess what? Jesus never wore pants. So they wore robes back then. So it's kind of hard for me to follow that kind of thing. And yeah. And I don't think someone's makeup or hair, unless they're trying to be the other sex, is going to disrupt their faith. So things like that. Technically, the Bible doesn't tell you can't drink. I'm not a big fan of drinking. Don't get me wrong. I love alcohol. Alcohol just does not love me. I have not been intoxicated since college. My husband has never seen me drunk. And we've been married, oh God, how many years? 23? Been together 24, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. So if it's not in the Bible, I'm not a big follower. So we have had trouble aligning with churches. So here's my story with our daughter. And one of the reasons I feel like she's pulled away from her faith. So, and this is another, it's kind of another topic thrown in together. So our daughter in elementary school came home one day and she was like, the school counselor asked me who my favorite parent was. And my husband and I were like, what? What did you just say? First of all, why is the counselor counseling my kid without talking to me? Two, what school counselor is asking a kid who their favorite parent is? Because we don't play those games in our house. I mean, we may jokingly, but they know. Don't play us against each other. Don't no. So we were like, well, what did you tell the counselor? And she said, well, I said my favorite parent was Pee-wee. That's her dog. We still have that dog. He's getting older, but yeah, he's a Chihuahua and he's like, yeah. And we both like laugh, but we were like, what on earth? So I reached out to the school and the counselor never really, would talk to me, but I told the principal, like, I do not want this going on. Well, come to the next year, I thought it was the end of the story, nothing else, everything had been stopped. Somewhere towards the beginning of the school year, I get a call from the school counselor, but it's a different counselor. And she is talking to me about Lexi said something that concerned them. And they took it way out of context, but she said something like, I'm just a waste of air or something like that. Well, come to find out, she was being bullied at school, but they were like, oh, she's suicidal. Oh, you got to hide your knives. You got to do all this. And I was just like, seriously, how about you deal with the bullies? But that's that. Our daughter was actually very big for her age. But here's the thing. When this counselor reached out, she said, well, the meetings with Lexi, they seem, she's just kind of depressed. And I was like, meetings? What are you talking about? I'm like, did they do this again? Turns out that original counselor never stopped meeting with our child. She was meeting with her once a week, having her come to her office and eat lunch with her. Well, so, that crossed the line. But here's where it got really bad. I want to say, hold on 1 second. Hey, Alexa, stop timer.
30-minute timer. Stop.
I'm making sourdough bread. It can wait for a few minutes. So, because that's like that's one of the things that like helps me find my peace. It's almost like a meditation. I talk to God while I'm making my sourdough. So anyway, back to this. So in elementary school, when all this was happening, either fourth or fifth grade, I want to say it was fourth. Yeah, I think it was fourth because fifth grade was very different. I really got along with the teacher, and funny how they fired her the next year because, she actually made sense. But Here's the thing. My daughter came to us and said, I'm gay and you're a bigot. What? First of all, my best friend from college is gay. And, you know, I'm about to be 55, so we've been friends for a very long time. And wishes she wasn't. Like, that's another story. But I was like, how can I be a bigot? Well, and she's like, you know, you don't like gay people. And I'm like, your Aunt Dawn Ann, we called her Aunt Dawn Ann, is gay. So how can I be a bigot? And then I started realizing two things. One, my daughter didn't actually understand what a bigot was. And two, she didn't even actually understand what it meant to be gay. And she was throwing this stuff at us. And here's the thing. The influence came from outside of our house because, yeah. And a lot of it came from school and a lot of it came from that counselor. But here's my point. She was being shaped before she was actually ready. She was being thrown things that she didn't understand, but she was accepting them and throwing shade on her parents and didn't even understand what it meant. Well, we got through that. We're still dealing with some of that, but here's the thing. You can't control everything. And when my husband found out, he got very, very upset. He started pushing. He started resisting. He started, like, you know, saying things like, well, if she turns out to be gay, she's not living in my house, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, seriously? We're here to love our children through the good and the bad. Trust me, there are days I don't like my children, but I love them very, very much. But I'm their parent. I don't have to be their best friend. I'm not supposed to be their best friend. I'm supposed to be, you know, I'm supposed to be here for them. But I'm not supposed to be their best friend. I'm supposed to be helping them to be responsible adults who make good decisions. Okay. So I backed off. What I learned was, first of all, I went through a lot of spiritual anxiety over this. And I finally was like, I got to give this to Jesus. Like, I've got to pray about it. I've got to, you know. And I realized if I back off, my daughter was more likely to be receptive to things that I told her. And I finally got my husband to understand that too. Like, because here was the thing. When he was starting to push, basically she was pushing back and she was standing firm. Now, you know, things are a little better, but she's still confused about a lot of stuff. But here's the difference. Like, she's making choices and she's never even kissed another human being outside of her family. She's never had a relationship with a boy or a girl. Like, she's making these choices based on things that she sees socially, especially in social media and stuff. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you are a parent of young children, I recommend you keep them off of social media as long as you can. Because their brains are just not ready for it. Heck, I feel like I'm not ready for it half the time. But that's the thing. I just want you to understand, pressure creates distance. Big time. Okay. Now, our approach now is we don't agree with everything. Obviously, I don't agree. Like, it's a lifestyle I don't agree with. I have friends times though, and here's the biggest thing. I don't affirm everything either to my daughter or my friends. But what I do choose is to have a relationship with them regardless. I'd rather have them, especially her, my daughter, close than pushed away. Because if I push them away, how am I ever going to get influence? Remember, you can't argue your way to Jesus. You cannot get people to come to Jesus by arguing about it. So yeah. And here's another side of it. I'll admit, I'm a control freak. So this is like super hard for me. Letting go and allowing things to happen, that's very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. So, but here's the thing. Our job is not to save our children. Our job is to guide them. Our job is to plant the seeds in them so that God does the work. We have to give everything up to Jesus. We have to trust over control. That's really, really hard for some of us. So if you're a parent out there dealing with this, with children with faith issues, children with identity issues, you are not alone by any means. But I will suggest, pick your battles. Pick your battles. Because just remember, this could be the hill you die on. And that death means the death of your relationship with your children. Mic drop. Biggest thing you got to do is pray. Pray about it all the time. Pray consistently about your children. You should anyway. You should be praying about your family, about your circumstances, about everything. Make sure you let Jesus know you're grateful for everything too. So what does it all mean? You can win the argument and still lose your child. Okay, that's another mic drop. Okay. So for me, I'm choosing relationship, prayer, and trust every day. Every day. And here's another thing. When you do that, when you put your trust and faith in Jesus, a lot of this weight comes off of you. And life gets a lot better. And I just always have to remember, there was probably at least an 8-year gap where I went to college and even after, and that I was lost. But the more I think about it, I was probably lost all along, even though I was baptized and said I believed in Jesus. Believing in Jesus and choosing Jesus are different. And it's not until we truly choose Jesus and we choose him and don't flip-flop, that's when things get easier. That's when it gets easier. So once again, I'm asking for submissions, for questions, for topics you want me to cover. I appreciate that. Please don't forget to share this, because this is my ministry. This is one of my ministries. If you watched last week, I also started helping with the LifeWise Academy. I'm so excited about that. And yeah, next week I will hit another hard topic. So be on the lookout. I don't want easy. Life isn't easy. And maybe that's something we're going to talk about too. Life not being easy and life not always being fair. Yeah. Have a good week. Trust in God.